Good evening, and welcome to this technical English course. In the frame of our activities, this workshop or this course is going to be very important and a great foundation for us to get access to that technical knowledge related to English that we need to take into account as teachers. My name is Jhonny Sarmiento, and I'm going to be the facilitator for this workshop. This is an activity conducted by Corporación Universitaria Adventista, and this is in the frame of the activities related to the Básica Education program, the bachelor's degree in Básica Education. Well, why a technical English course? Many of you will ask, why this technical English course? Well, I'm addressing teachers, and we need to know that when we are exerting our profession, when we carry out our profession as teachers, and we accomplish the objective of facilitating the learning of the language to people in different parts of the world, we don't take into account the foundation that we as teachers need to know in the context of mastering those conceptions related to technical English. This is, we don't usually provide our students with that knowledge related to what is a subject, what is an object, what is a specific verb tense. But from our perspective as teachers and taking into account the way we approach the language and the way we learn, we need to be aware of those conceptions because we need to be very familiar with the system of the language. We need to get to know how the language works. This is going to be the knowledge which is called the explicit knowledge or the aware knowledge of the language. So that is why this need for studying these conceptions in technical English or on technical English emerges. Well, the first conception that we're going to take into account in this regard is related to the sentence structure in English. What is the sentence structure in English? What is actually the order English sentences have? We need to take that into account. Okay, first, we need to know that the English sentence has essentially one subject, one verb, and in many of the cases we have with respect to sentences in English, we are going to have objects in the sentences too. Essentially, here we can see what is a sentence in English. John has a car. This is the subject. This is the verb. And this is the object. Okay. Many sentences are going to actually have an object. Other sentences don't have exactly an object, but have other complements that are going to receive some specific names, and we will get to know the names at other times. Okay, first, we need to know what the subject is. The subject refers to who is doing the action in the sentence. Essentially, as we learned it when we were in elementary school or when we were in high school studying our Spanish, these linguistic principles are kept, and actually the subject is who exactly is doing the action in the sentence. The subject can be a noun. John has a car. It can also be a pronoun, and we will say, he has a car. It can be a noun phrase, and we will say, the tall man has a car. Or even we can have a more complex structure that even can include one preposition, and in that case, one prepositional phrase can become essential part of the subject. Look at this. The tall man with black hair has a car. So, what do we have over here? Taking into account what I explained, we find the subject here constituted by a noun. In the second example, he, which is a pronoun, constitutes the subject itself and the core. Now look at this. The tall man, now what we have in that case is a noun phrase. Essentially, the core of that phrase is going to be a noun, which is man in this case. But the, which is a determiner, and tall, which is an adjective, also constitute part of that noun phrase. And now look at this. The tall man with black hair. We have exactly the same noun phrase we had in example number 3, but now we have added with black hair, which is a prepositional phrase introduced by the preposition with. This is added to the noun phrase, and all of this constitutes the subject. So as we can see, the subject can be a simple structure, a simple word, or actually a more compound and a more complex structure, as we can see it over here. Okay? Then this is the subject. Now let's continue with the verb. Well, this is the subject. And now, let's continue with the verb. The verb. The verb essentially refers to the action that the sentence has. Over here, for example, we have the action has, and of course it has an object. Now let's continue by placing some examples for you to focus your attention on the verb itself. By the way, the verb can be constituted by just one word, or actually a group of words can make it two. For example, excuse me. Mary sells apartments. Let's say that Mary is a realtor, a real estate agent. So, Mary sells apartments. Now look at the verb, and that verb is constituted in this case by just one single word. Now look at this. Now look at this sentence. Now the verb is not constituted only by one single word, but two words give us the whole idea about the verb. In this case, we have a sentence which is in present continuous, made up by is, which is an auxiliary verb, and selling, which is the verb itself, and all of that make up the idea related to the action of the sentence. This is an action that is being done at this moment, and we say, Mary is selling magazines in the park. This is the verb. Or we can also have more complex structures with respect to the verb. Look at this. Mary is going to study math tonight. Over here, the verb is this. Is going to study. Auxiliary form. This is also an auxiliary structure. To, which is a preposition, and study, which is the core verb of that sentence. But, according to what we say, the verb tense is the one that determines the amount of words having to do with the structure of the verb. Okay? Mary is going to study math tonight. Well, this is the verb. This is the subject. And now we will continue with a third component of usual and normal sentences in English. And this component is the object. The object is that phrase, well, actually that word or that phrase that receives the action mentioned by the verb. And the object usually gives an answer to the question, what? What is done? What will be done? What is being done? Or what has been done, etc. So the object gives us the idea and the answer for the question, what? The object can be a noun, a pronoun, or can be a noun phrase too. Look at this. Mary studies English. English, which is an answer for the question, what? And in that particular case, what does she study? Is the information related to the object. This is the object. But we could also say, Mary studies it. And when saying it, in order to replace the word English, we are using a pronoun, which is the object too. Now look at this. Mary studies modern languages. Now this constitutes the answer for the question, what? And it is now made up by two words. One adjective, which is modern, and languages, which is the noun itself. This is a noun phrase, compounded by, I said one more time, an adjective and a noun. So, in all of those cases, we have, in a clear form, the information related to what is the object. One more time, is that phrase or noun that receives the information or the action mentioned by the verb. It usually, according to what I said, answers the question, what? Okay, we have some other verbs in English that are special verbs because they are not considered action verbs, but those are linking verbs. Now let's see what happens with them. I'm going to erase here. I'm going to take this off. Well, we have some linking verbs, and I'm going to give you some examples. Like, one essential verb, okay, of course, the verb to be. Another one is become. Another one is seem. And another one is feel. Like, be, become, seem, and feel. Well, those are some examples on linking verbs. Linking verbs have the particular function, according to what the name says, of creating a link between the noun or the subject, essentially the subject, and the idea we want to refer to, which is in linguistics usually called attribute. Attribute, okay? In that case, the verb is not going to be considered the core of the part of the sentence which is related to what we say on the subject, but the attribute is going to be the core. An example with like. My sister likes tennis. Okay, although, and in spite of the fact that this is an answer for the question what, this is not considered an object because of the presence of the verb like in the sentence. So, in that case, taking into account that this is a linking verb, this is called complement. So the attributes in those kinds of sentences using and displaying linking verbs, this is going to be called the complement. So this is a complement and not exactly an object. My sister likes tennis. Look at this example, okay? I like it very much. I am intelligent. Okay, intelligent, which is an adjective, is linked to the noun starting from the use of the verb to be. So this is a linking verb. This is not considered an object, but this is a complement. Intelligent. Become. And let's say, for example, John Burke became a politician. John Burke became a politician. This information, a politician, is linked to John Burke and is the attribute. And it's a complement taking into account that this is a linking verb. Seem. Sarah seems tired. Sarah seems tired. Tired, which is an adjective, is linked to Sarah, starting from the use of the verb seem, and this is a linking verb, and this is a complement. Finally, feel. I feel great. Great is linked to I, which is the subject, and this is a linking verb, so this is going to be called complement. So, these are complements. Okay, this is for the time being what has to do with the sentence structure in English. Thank you very much for your attention.